Hello and welcome to the BeeRPad. We have a Star Wars centric episode today because we're celebrating Star Wars during Star Wars Celebration. With me, as always, is my excellent, outstanding, and very Darth co-host, Marcus Beer. And Marcus, who's our special guest today?
We don't have a special guest. We have Paul.
He's a special guest.
He's a recurring guest now. He's a recurring guest star. He basically has gone beyond special guest star and featuring to recurring guest star.
Haha.
That's what it would be like if this was a shitty sitcom or a shitcom.
And how are you today, Paul?
Work on the Big Bang Theory. That's great.
Does that make you blossom? Oh wait, she was a regular cat. I didn't watch the show.
Well, she was recurring at first.
Ah,
I guess I would.
She didn't come in until like five seasons in.
Yeah,
and she was in for like 3 or 4 episodes, and then she became recurring.
Yeah,
and then she became part of the main cast.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of stuff we want to talk about this week. This week's episode of The Mandalorian is getting a lot of heat, very divisive. The season has been pretty divisive in general. Lots of awesome Star Wars Celebration content to talk about. But before we get into it, just want to remind you guys to like, subscribe. If you're subscribing on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you know when we're streaming. I'm going to take a powder so I can do that thing where I retweet the live stream that's going on. So Marcus, take it from here.
So what are we talking about?
You're vamping while I retweet.
Vamping. Okay.
Yes.
Vamping. How do I vamp? All right, I'm going to spiel. So this week's Mando. Paul, have you played the Old Republic?
No.
Okay.
I read the comic books, but I never played much of the game.
All right. As somebody who's played it for ad infinity, ad nauseum. The premise of the episode this week was a direct rip from a mission in the Old Republic. There is a mission on Coruscant where you go literally into the underworld, and you have to go and liaise with the Ugnaughts, and then take out a bunch of crazy droids. And it takes you all around the place. It doesn't take you into a droid bar, which is a little bit kinky, if you ask me. But I was like, no, it couldn't be. I went back and I looked it up, and damn, yeah, it's like John Favreau decided to take it a little easy this week. He's like, let's find something that nobody will remember, and I'll rip it off. And I was like, sorry, homeboy. And nobody seems to have picked up on it.
I think people did, because there were people that were saying, oh, the Old Republic is now canon. And I was sitting there going like, wait, what? Like, what? I missed, because I didn't get it. So I was like, I didn't understand.
Same here. Yeah.
What they meant by that. But I guess that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, it was a total rip of that mission. And it was, I thought that was amusing.
Did in that mission, did the Ugnaughts say that line, I have spoken?
I can't remember.
Because I thought that was one of the things about the episode I thought was funny. I was like, because I always thought it was just that one Nick Nolte guy who said it,
right?
And then it turns out to be like a thing they all say.
That actually was Nick Nolte, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. And the original guy was Nick Nolte, right? The ones this week was Mark Hamill, actually. I think.
Yeah, but the face is modeled on Nick Nolte.
Yeah.
The Ugnaughts are currently modeled on Nick Nolte.
Yeah.
For some reason, I always juggle Nick Nolte and Gary Busey in my head as being interchangeable.
Yeah, well, if you've ever seen their mugshots, that's completely understandable.
But then I was thinking an Ugnaught Gary Busey would be hilarious. I would love to see that. Especially the Gary Busey that you met, Paul.
Yes, the one who wanted to fight me.
Yes.
And snorted cocaine off his dog.
Yes. That guy is awesome.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly.
All legal and libelous and slanderous queries.
No, he literally told Paul this story.
Told me this story.
Did he? Do you have it? Do you have it on tape?
Yeah.
Okay, Paul has it on tape.
It was in.
So if Nick Nolte sues this show, we can counter sue, and we're all set.
No, Gary Busey, not Nick Nolte.
Well, probably
Gary Busey, not Nick Nolte.
So we're gonna go into spoiler territory. So anyone that's watching live or anyone if you're watching tapes, either put on your spoiler shields or hit pause until you've seen this week's episode of The Mandalorian and come back later. But there are a bunch of big cameos in this episode. 3 really big ones. One, I guess it's their third cameo in the show. Not as big, but we had Jack Black, we had Lizzo, we had the extremely wonderful Christopher Lloyd, and for wrestling fans, we had the return of Mercedes Varnado, who was formerly known as Sasha Banks in WWE. Now,
is she one of the Mandalorians?
That's right. She's Costco. She's the one with the crisscrossing hair thing.
Gotcha.
She's
gotcha.
Costco. Okay. Costco is the name of one of the Mandalorians.
Costco Reeves.
And then there's Cost Plus, and then there's Walmart. That's their droid, Walmart.
So you guys you have very different opinions about the cameos from what I'd gather from your socials. So let us start. Who wants to go dark side or light side first? Let's go dark first.
Oh, it's me first then. Okay. Yes. So Christopher Lloyd, absolute icon, God amongst men. Totally great to see him. Boom. Jack Black was Jack Black doing Jack Black, but it works because it's Jack Black. I mean, he's somebody who's like, this is me, this is what I do.
Yeah, that's like 99% of his movies and shows. And that's great. Good for him.
And then we have Lizzo. Now, I adore Lizzo. I think she's a phenomenal person and a really outstanding musician.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're going to stunt cast, please make sure they can act. And she couldn't act because it was Lizzo doing Lizzo. And she doesn't have, or in this situation, she didn't have the presence to really carry off this thing. And the whole dynamic between her and Jack Black, I was going to say, between her and Paul Semel, between her and Jack Black was just off for me. And every time I saw them, it was just taking me out of it. And look, I got to say, I mean, it's like Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones. It's just not right. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, I adore Lizzo. I think she's fantastic. She sends out lots of positivity and lots of great messages. And her, like I said, her music is absolutely phenomenal. And, before I get crucified by the Lizzo police, I'm sure at some point the acting lessons will pay off and she'll become, quite good. But she did not need to be in this episode. And it really is. I don't like the stunt casting when you pick somebody who can't fucking act.
Lizzo police, freeze.
Well,
I always wanted to say that.
Shouldn't that be a flute or something? And you got to wear assless chaps.
Oh, that's true. I do not have a flute.
But I mean, that's the fact that this role was then taken from a probably infinitely more talented character actress just to put a name in there it's just ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to put somebody like Daniel Craig in as a stormtrooper, or you're going to put Simon Pegg in as that guy in The Force Awakens who sells the junk, fine, they're actually actors.
Hello, Mark.
Don't put pop stars in who cannot act. It doesn't do her any good. It doesn't do the show any good. I mean, Jack Black was borderline because, again, it was Jack Black. I could have actually done with just seeing Christopher Lloyd as the character he played, and had other character actors in as these two. It just felt like a bit of circle jerking. To be honest, everybody was tugging each other's lightsabers.
I don't remember what the context was, but you mentioned Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones before, and I mean, at least they had him singing, so at least that's what he does. So that
but it's fucking Ed Sheeran. I mean,
like Ed Sheeran
again. Really nice guy, talented singer-songwriter, rich out of his at the yin yang. But let's face it, you're not gonna. You see it and you go, "Fuck, that's Ed Sheeran." It's like the Starbucks cup. Leave a Starbucks cup on the table, and you're like, "Fuck, that's a Starbucks cup."
I will
mean,
not
you know,
disparage a man who could put 50 Maltesers in his mouth at once.
only
Respects.
50.
It's more. I don't
Jesus. Send me a fucking case of Maltesers.
You could do
I'll show
50
you.
50 Maltesers. I want to do this
Kim-
on camera.
Fine. Somebody ship me a bunch of Maltesers. I will. Hey, my capabilities with chocolate are legendary. Anyway, I just it just really that whole first 35 minutes of the show were a total waste of space for me. It felt like a cheesy pot boiler, a little, we don't really have anything to write about, so let's get a MacGuffin to justify them being there. The most interesting part was the final 10 minutes when they were actually with
Right.
the Mandalorians.
You mean when
I
they're
really,
playing?
it's like Grogu is off cheating at sports with Lizzo.
Yeah, they're playing
What?
like space bocce ball or whatever.
Exactly. And I don't know if the Jack Black thing was tied to coincide with Super Mario Brothers, because obviously he's Bowser in that.
Probably not.
But well, the timing was a little bit ironic. But yeah,
but different studios. Like
Yeah.
if the Mario movie had been a Disney thing, then yeah.
Well, hey, who knows? But anyway.
We have a comment from Mark that very much agrees with Marcus. Mark says, "Love Christopher Lloyd's cameo, but Jack Black threw me off so much. He felt so out of place. And 100% agree with Lizzo. Can't act at all. The whole thing felt more like an SNL sketch than Star Wars." Lizzo did quite well on SNL, by the way. So she's learning.
She was excellent on SNL, but there's a difference between doing a sketch show where if you fall flat on your face, you can just own it and revel in it. But if you're trying to be, I mean, look, the age difference was obviously kind of crazy. If you were going to do that plot line, I'd be more interested in why this former Republican the Republic Lord or whatever the hell Jack Black was, married this Duchess of this planet, and delve into that a little bit, as opposed to fucking fan service for Lizzo fans and Jack Black fans. It just felt pointless. At least Christopher Lloyd had a point. He was a bona fide plot point.
Yeah.
You could have taken the other two out, wouldn't have made a fucking difference.
I love that line he said when Count Dooku was a visionary. I'm like, oh, there's an interesting perspective and a name I've not heard for a long time. Yeah. Now, Paul, I think you have very different feelings about these cameos. How did they play for you?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I agree with everybody about the Christopher Lloyd, but to me, Christopher Lloyd wasn't a cameo. He's a character actor.
Sure.
So he was playing a role.
To be fair, Ray called him a cameo.
Okay.
I did.
So,
I mean, he was a cameo, but he's not really a cameo.
I mean, he's not coming back. Obviously, it's a one and done.
Well, you never know.
I don't think so.
For me, Jack Black was more out of place than Lizzo, because with Lizzo, just like I'm with you guys. Like, I love Lizzo. I think she's super cool, and the joy that I felt seeing her and Grogu, just whatever like criticism you can have about her acting, about her not being, being an SNL sketchy thing, whatever, was just completely like blown, buried by that. It's it's
great.
Like,
so you were happy for her because she got to stand next to a fucking puppet.
Yeah.
And that really basically justified 35 minutes of tosh.
I have never felt joy.
Well, I mean,
like
it's
the joy I felt when I saw those two together.
All right. So who is this Joy? Is she there? Can we say hello?
It was in 35 minutes of those two. They had maybe 10 minutes.
Well, and that's
screen
the other thing, is they weren't
total?
even on screen all that long.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like a little funny little bit.
It just it takes you out of it. And then I don't know. Mark just said, "What the hell was that Grogu knighthood thing at the end?" Absolutely. I mean, it was just a bad episode. If they set up so many potential tangents that could have been interesting. And it's the second time this season that we've got to see this decadent lifestyle of the bourgeoisie, if you will, on this, we saw it on Coruscant and the standalone episode with the scientist, and now we're seeing it again here with Mando, where you got all these reprehensible freaking scumbags who are just like loading it up. Yes, this, that, and the other, because we've got slaves. They're robot slaves, and blah 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 blah. That is the. I mean, I'm interested to see where that's going, if it goes anywhere. Probably won't, but that was an interesting plot point.
I think it will, actually. I think it's showing how the Republic is not so great, and it shows why it fell apart after, I believe it's 23 years.
I don't think it's even part of the Republic. That place is part. That planet is part of the Republic.
Yeah, well, I just meant before.
No, it is. The first one was, but I mean, it's just there was so much potential that they could have taken these spin-offs onto, and it just felt ridiculously out of place.
But
all the other episodes this season have been really good.
You didn't like Din kicking the robots or that whole chase? I thought the chase scene was fun. It reminded me of a little bit of Blade Runner. Some of it was iRobot-ish, but I thought that was well filmed, looked great, exciting.
Yeah, but you're talking about little bits when you look at it as a whole. A whole is where they should have dropped this fucking episode.
I don't know. That was longer than the screen time Jack Black and Lizzo had. Their whole procedural thing, and it just back.
But I mean, you could have basically taken Jack Black and Lizzo out and made the episode better, because once you go into this episode and you're like, holy shit, is that Lizzo? That's not like, oh, that's the princess of the planet. No, that's fucking Lizzo. I mean, and as you said with Christopher Lloyd, but it's like, oh, it's not, oh, that's Doc Brown, or that's the judge from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or the guy from Taxi. It's Christopher Lloyd. Boom, I'm into it. He's a seditionist. He's a separatist, rather. He is cuckoo bananas. Love it. I mean, every time I see Christopher Lloyd, he is a character actor. He was in that Nobody movie where he played the dad of what's his name from Better Call Saul, that action movie that was great, and he was great in that. And that's the thing. Christopher Lloyd is a bloody chameleon. Jack Black, love Jack Black.
But he does one thing.
He does one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Bowser is probably a great gig for him. Apparently, he is the standout voice in Super Mario Brothers, because he's the only one who gives a fuck and takes it to 11.
I heard Rogan phoned it in.
Rogan, what's his name? Twat Pratt. And Anya Taylor-Joy. Was that the joy you were looking at? That you were filling?
I wish that was the joy.
I'd like to be filling. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is just so reprehensible, you two. I mean, seriously, she's not a piece of meat.
No, I want to be her servant. I would totally be down for that.
I was about to say I want to be your lover, but
So Mark has another great point. Controversial opinion: Mando would be better without Grogu. At this point, Grogu adds nothing but background cuteness and potential merch sales. He should have stayed with Luke. Yeah, but I don't know. What if ultimately he ends up being the titular Mandalorian? Because at this point, the season hasn't been a lot about Din Djarin, and some fans are not happy about that. That is a point I want to get into, but I did want to talk about the structure of this episode. Some of the complaints about the season is that it's very different from season 1 and season 2. I thought this episode was a lot like season 1 in that it had the Kung Fu model where Din goes to X location and solves Y problem and then goes off and does another thing. So,
and for anybody who doesn't know what Kung Fu is, even though they've remade it on the WB,
yes,
it's a 70s TV show with David Carradine as Kwai Chang Caine.
Yes,
Kwai Chang Caine, the whitest looking Asian guy you've ever seen in your life, wandering around the Old West, solving problems with his wisdom and his fists, and it's very yellow face and hasn't aged at all. But that was a prime example of 70s TV.
Yes, they did it with Hulk also.
Hulk, Fugitive. Yeah. It was always, the Hardy Boys. They had this, the characters just wandering around, stumbling into shit. The A-Team, Knight Rider. I mean, 70s and 80s, that sort of procedural, and it is a throwback to that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it was a good episode.
And by the way, Kung Fu was originally conceived by Bruce Lee, but Hollywood did not want to cast an Asian man as a leading man at the time. So
I would also argue that Mickey Rooney was a whiter Asian man.
yeah, that one hurts.
Yeah.
Which one was he, an Asian man?
He was in
Breakfast at
Breakfast at
Tiffany's. It's horrible.
Oh, right. Okay. You said
Yeah.
yes, of course. Mickey Rooney. I'm sorry. You said Mickey Rooney, and I thought Mickey Rourke.
I don't know.
I
With
thought,
all the plastic
whoa.
surgery, he could kind of
Yeah.
he's starting to look more like an Asian man than.
But yes, you're right. I mean, look, we've had this problem, and you look at Gunga Din with I think it was John Wayne.
Yes.
Oh God,
No.
you're right.
Was it Genghis Khan that he played? Also, I don't remember.
Probably. I think the only one he hasn't played is Genghis Cohen, which happens to be an awesome West LA restaurant, Chinese restaurant, New York style Chinese, with the best cocktails you've ever had in your life. You Uber there, you get shit faced, you listen to the music, and you Uber home. So yes, Genghis Cohen, try it.
Weird little
You've been to
LA
Genghis Cohen. Oh, you've been to Genghis Cohen, right?
I went there a couple of weeks ago.
See, am I right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Stuff.
Good stuff.
So another one of the complaints about this season is that it hasn't been about Din and Grogu. Do you guys have a problem with that?
I don't
they're stretching it out.
disagree. I mean, I don't disagree, but I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you could have changed the show to The Mandalorians with an S,
Right.
and it would be more accurate. But I like what they've done, and yeah, I mean, I think I said this to you guys before that like it's always seemed to me like they thought The Mandalorian was going to end after they passed Grogu off to Luke, and then when Grogu ended up being like, the voice of a generation, they were like, okay, we have to continue this.
What a fucking generation that's going to be.
It's going to be adorable. But yeah,
with
like
somebody's hand up their ass.
Yeah, I do think that I understand that complaint, but I still really like the show a lot,
Mark says the same complaint was made about the Boba Fett series. The people in my social circles actually were the opposite, and they preferred the Boba Fett episodes about Din over the ones that were about Boba Fett. So
because it was so fucking boring. It was the book of boring Fett.
Yeah.
I mean, boring fetid even. I mean, you take one of the most iconic characters in the Star Wars galaxy, no pun intended, and you just make it so dull. Yeah, horrible show. Really just has not aged well. I'd rather we'd have had an extra Mando season, to be honest with you.
I wasn't as bored by it, it just bothered me about how inept he was as an adventurer, as a leader of a city. He was not very good. I mean, I was bored when let's watch him in the Bacta tank have flashbacks to Nam. I didn't care.
But no, I think this season. Look, I like the season of Mando.
Same.
It's had some really good diverse issues, episodes where we've gone off and done something different, like the one with the scientist. This one just did not work. This was the first bum episode for me because they could have got to the Mandalorians much, much quicker. We could have had that fucking duel. The Darksaber could have been passed, and then we could have had really two more episodes of fruity goodness.
How did you feel about the Darksaber? We're like, here you go. it's like,
look, if that's the case, if that's how it works, I mean, it does work. I mean, it seemed very Harry Pottery.
The Elder Wand rule.
Yes, there is that rule. I mean, this really did feel like Jon Favreau phoning this in. This episode, he really seemed to phone it in. But I'm glad that Bo-Katan's got the Darksaber, because she is way better at using it than Jen.
Yeah.
It's hers by right, and the fact that she uses it so effortlessly really does reinforce the fact that it should have been hers in the first place. And Yeah, I think that just that totally works, and because it's something that's just disappeared off the show. I mean, he's tried to use it, and he's like, oh, it's so heavy. I mean, it got way more play in Rebels, and was a really big part of Rebels. It kept on popping up. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with Bo. I think it's very exciting.
Paul, how did you feel about the Darksaber handoff? Was it?
I thought that was really clever because because the minute they started talking about it, I'm like, oh God, they're right. Like he tried to use it against that thing, whatever the hell that was.
The spider, yeah.
And then she beat him up, and I'm like, oh, that perfectly tracks. I don't know why he has so much trouble wielding it, but maybe there is some sort of force element to it.
Because he's not the chosen one.
Yeah,
I think it's a desire thing. Some people were comparing him to Jon Snow, like, I don't want it. So he doesn't want to be a leader.
So he's going to stab Bo in a couple of episodes.
Yeah. I mean, he never wanted what the Darksaber represents, which is that he leads the Mandalorians. It seems quite clear that he's more interested in being a father to Grogu and he just wants to be part of his I'm using clan. Covert? Is that the word they use?
Coven.
Yes. He wants to be part of his Mandalorian covert and live happily ever after with his adopted son, who will outlive him.
This is the way, and he has spoken.
Yes, he has spoken.
Episode's still shit.
Fair enough. Now we have another comment from Mark, who says, I've enjoyed the series so far, but this week's episode is probably my least favorite episode of Mando yet. Some good moments, but overall poor. I mean, come on, you had Mandalorians playing football, like they were at a cookout or something. I thought that was, I don't know, it was just a funny visual.
All that was missing was, the shirts off and Tom Cruise popping by. It's like, put the net up, do the beach volleyball thing, and it's like Kenny Loggins. Well, I mean, is there any Mandalorian musicians called Kenny, who do like Kenny Loggins type stuff? That would be awesome. Danger Zone. What?
I wanted to see a Mando with like the beer helmet, have the straws.
I want to see a Mando in beach shorts.
Yeah,
and his helmet.
Just the helmet. Yeah,
just the helmet, but a pair of beach board shorts.
Watch Robot Chicken.
So our friend Carlos, who I do not believe is with us today, because he's not watching, not because he died. He said the Darksaber handoff felt cheap, but some people have been playing up that, that those Mandalorians put so much credence into the Darksaber, the way that the Children of the Watch put so much credence in keeping their helmets on, and Din was playing on that. I don't know if it's that complex. I think he just didn't want the Darksaber, found a loophole, and just handed it to her.
Well, no, I think he saw that the Darksaber was going to be needed for her to take control and unite, because he wants to take Mandalore back, and he knows that the kooky helmet on crew are, they're open to doing it, but Bo-Katan is the one who can unite helmets on and helmets off.
Right.
Shirts and skins. I don't know what helmets and skins, whatever you want to call them. And giving her the Darksaber he found the logical workaround. Shows he's a very smart guy. We all know this. But that means now she's got the fleet back. She's got the armorer. So that they can source more Beskar and they can go and reclaim Mandalore. I want to know what's going to happen with that mythosaur.
Right.
I'm hoping we're going to see that freaking mythosaur, and it wasn't just a hallucination to show that she is the chosen one.
Doesn't she have to like tame it or something? I forgot what the prophecy was.
She has to spank it with a Darksaber.
Bad mythosaur. Bad. In my head, she's saying it like John Oliver. Bad mythosaur. Bad mythosaur. I'd watch that. We have 2 episodes left. Maybe we'll get that scene. Who knows?
Yeah.
Now, for the people that are complaining about this not being like the first 2, do you think we're enjoying it because we're bigger Star Wars nerds? We've watched Rebels now, all 3 of us, so we have more to draw from. Like, I care a lot about what happens to Bo-Katan. Maybe people that just know this character from The Mandalorian don't care nearly as much.
I
What do you
liked
think?
I like Bo-Katan the first time round.
Okay.
I think she's a cool character. Nobody knew exactly what was up with her at the beginning.
Right.
Pre Rebels for me, because I've only obviously watched Rebels in the past sort of like 6 weeks or so. I don't think it's necessarily a case of the Rebels needing to be tied in. I think it's a case of this season being a marked departure from what we've seen with The Mandalorian. Season 2 was excellent. It had a straight and steady path culminating with the Darksaber being taken from Moff Gideon and Luke turning up and taking Grogu away. And so we've lost Paul.
Yes. He was frozen for
Paul.
a bit. Now he's just gone.
Okay. Let's talk about him. No, so I think this episode's this season's diverted from that, and on the whole, it's paid off. It's really made for some very interesting episodes, and it's been more about the second rise of Mandalore to me.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm viewing it, as opposed to anything else. But again, this last episode was a bag of wank.
Do you think it's building to something bigger, to Ahsoka and to Filoni's movie that they just announced he's doing a Mandoverse movie?
Well, what I'm seeing is that his movie will close out the interconnected stories told in Mando, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and whatever else. Skeleton Crew, I think, is another one.
Yeah,
that's going to be closing out those stories. So that's going to be interesting. That's a lot of stories to tie out, and I'm guessing that's going to be the fall of the New Republic, and then moving, much like Rogue One did, into A New Hope. This one's going to move into The Force Awakens.
Yes, that's right.
So I think that's going to. So it's going to tie out Rebels. It's going to tie out the Bad Batch or whatever else you've got going on there. And I apologize if I'm skewing my timelines up here. I'm a little congested and allergied up today. The sun is shining. It's April and it's hot and sunny, and I fucking hate it. But yeah, this movie is quite interesting. So obviously, Star Wars Celebration is taking place, I think, in the UK this week. Yep. So we've been seeing a lot of people, a lot of announcements, and I'm actually going to introduce to you, Ray.
Yeah,
I'm going to hand over to you because we got the trailer for Ahsoka.
Yes.
I'm guessing the nerd boner was large.
I've watched it at least 15 times since it hit yesterday.
So, go.
Yeah, the trailer for Ahsoka hit, and as I've said a few times on this show and others, that she is my favorite Star Wars character outside the original trilogy. And I am so pleased that she's having her own series. And I was very surprised that in many ways, hey, look who is back. Or kind of.
So this is what happens when you live in the communist hellhole that is Paul's part of the world, and you have communist Wi-Fi.
Haha.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to do the new basketball taunt that they stole from John Cena. Apparently,
yeah, you gotta go like this and then do this.
you only get in trouble for this if you're not white, but it's cool for white people to do this.
I don't even know what that means. Don't forget, you're talking about an absolutely stupid sport. And let's face it, Americans, I've said this before and I'll say it again.
Basketball?
You guys are so great at inventing your own sports because you suck at every other one. And then you invent these sports and call yourselves world champions. Well done. Basketball's stupid.
This is You Can't See Me.
Are you talking about college basketball?
Yes.
That's even stupider. College should not be a place to go and play sports. It's a place to go and broaden your mind, not your fucking biceps.
Mark says Cena took it from Tony Yayo. I don't know who that is. Someone fill me in. And Paul is frozen again.
Yeah, Paul looks like he's having a poo.
Oh, he moved.
All right. Oh my God. This is literally like watching streaming over a 48K modem.
Yes. Well,
I think we should. Yeah,
I will
think we've
leave
lost
him.
Paul again.
Let's see. I have his window down there, so if he starts moving again,
Yeah.
But
anyway, let's talk about this trailer.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about stupid basketball, fucking college bullshit. Let's talk about the trailer and all those. Now these are cameos. These were characters that were dropped, and we saw the back of a very famous character's head.
That's
as
right.
He returns. We saw faces.
Lots of familiar faces.
Faces we've only seen animated.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're sort of like coming to life in front of our very eyes. So yes, carry on. Talk to me about this trailer.
So in many ways, it looks like Ahsoka, the first season, is going to be like the 5th season of Star Wars Rebels. They showed us a lot of characters. I wasn't expecting to see everyone. I was expecting to see Sabine Wren, the Mandalorian that was part of their crew. I did not think they would show Hera Syndulla, who is the pilot / den mother of the crew. They showed a hologram of Ezra, who is the character they're looking for, the Jedi in training.
Blink if you miss it.
Yeah.
You blink and you miss Ezra. I don't think he's going to turn up until
very end
of the season.
Yeah. I agree. But he will be there. He has been cast, and such a big fan of this show and so excited. They did a lot of things, like when Ahsoka puts her lightsabers in the ground and force spins them around to get under. She's done that in the cartoon, and I thought that was so cool that they implement a lot of the same moves, a lot of the same lightsaber stances, and Rosario Dawson is just killing it. They showed a bunch of new people. The bad guy, who is played by Ray Stevenson, who's a wonderful actor, and his apprentice there.
He's not a wonderful actor. His acting runs the gamut from X to Y. I mean, he is not a wonderful actor. He is a very useful character actor / action hero. But God, you saw RRR?
Yeah.
Ray Stevenson was in that, and I couldn't tell him apart from a fucking plank of wood. I mean, look, he was in one of the best Punisher movies.
Yes,
but again, he was not. He's not exactly a man known for his range. His rage, yes, but not so much his range.
Despite all his rage,
yes,
he is still just a rat in a cage. Too bad Paul is not here. It had a great cameo from that I thought you guys would love as Doctor Who fans. They had the droid that they had in the cartoons that knows all the lightsaber schematics and helps the younglings build their first lightsaber. So he is voiced
Doctor Who.
It's David Tennant's voice.
No, is it? Okay.
In the cartoon and in the show, he will be doing that character again. So I thought you guys would enjoy that.
I didn't pick up on it. I didn't listen along, I guess.
He is, of course, a genius actor and wonderful. Like,
now there's an actor with freaking range.
Yes, especially when it comes to women, as you told me about. He's British. Did you tell me he's like British Nick Cannon?
Oh yeah, he's got like 6 kids, but all with one woman.
Oh,
with his wife. He is married and has been happily married.
That's very different. I thought he had like 6 kids.
He is married to Georgia Tennant, Georgia Tennant, obviously, but she used to be called Georgia Moffat, who was the
David Moffat's
Stephen Moffat.
Stephen Moffat's, yeah,
was the guy who wrote Doctor Who for a long time, and she was in she was actually in an episode of Doctor Who as well. But anyway, yes, he's definitely not Nick Cannon. He's not got. No, definitely not. He's a better actor than Nick fucking Cannon. First of all.
Not difficult, but absolutely true.
Yeah, my God, I love these tangents we going off on. So, all right, on a scale of 1 to 11, how tingly are you for Ahsoka?
11. By far the show that I'm looking forward to the most this year. It's
in June, yes.
August, I believe
August.
they said. No,
That's
no
right.
date, but just August, hopefully.
Because it starts up after Secret Invasion finishes, which is the Marvel one with Nick Fury, and that's the one. I mean, look, I'm down for this show. I'm so down for it, but that's the one that's got my nerdy bits all a wobbly. But that's a discussion for another time. So let's talk about some of the announcements that have come from Star Wars Celebration, because I'm a little bit head scratchy here.
Okay.
So, I think that, I mean, obviously we talk about Dave Filoni's movie, which is going to wrap up the Rebels, Ahsoka, Mando, Boba Fett, which means those series are coming to an end, whether it be now in the next year or the next 2 years. I don't even know if we're going to get Book of Boba Fett season 2, but are we going to get Ahsoka season 2? Are we going to get a final season of Mando? If these stories are being wrapped up, when's this movie coming out? 2027? For us to be able to have enough of this time? That's a little bit confusing to me. James Mangold. Now, this is a coup to get James Mangold to direct a Star Wars movie. He is very familiar to a lot of fans for some of his great movies. Sorry. She's the daughter. I thought she was the daughter of Stephen Moffat. I always get confused.
Is the daughter of Pete Davidson from Saturday Night Live?
No,
how's that possible?
Peter Davidson, the Fifth Doctor. That's right. Yes, you are right. Somebody else was married to Moffat Jr. Anyway, Mangold, I think, didn't he do Logan?
Yes.
And
that's why I believe that's why he brought Daphne Keene is in one of the shows, I believe. She is the one that played X-23, Laura.
Okay, so yeah, Mangold's a really good director. It'll be interesting to see how he handles it. Now, this is going back to the Dawn of the Jedi. This is going to be Who the First Jedi. I think that's going to be interesting. It's going to be nice to see the actual Jedi starting off for once, not like, oh, we're so impressed, or we're so impotent, we can't do anything, we have to watch from the sides because it's we've got these powers and we can't use them because it's rude. Because let's face it, the Jedi in the prequels are fucking numpties, all of them.
I think someone is back properly.
I know. I was going to come back and correct the Moffat thing, but I guess I'm too late for that.
Yeah, I'm on drugs for my cancer that give me brain fog. What are you going to do? You want to go toe to toe, biatch? No, I seriously. I mean, I always get the two confused, and my apologies. So,
Paul's not on drugs too. No,
Paul's on much better drugs than me.
Yeah, it's called iced coffee.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I want a nice coffee too, with some chocolate in it. It's a treat. I
don't have coffee.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey bunny. So what were we talking about? See, I've totally lost my train of thought.
Talking about the three movies.
Yes, the three movies. So it'll be interesting from my perspective to see the Dawn of the Jedi. That's like, hello, I'm Steve. I'm the first Jedi. Look, that's going to be fun. Especially if the first Jedi is called Steve.
Right.
Or Colin. Hello, I'm Colin the Jedi.
Can we take a step back? Because Paul did not share his thoughts about the Ahsoka trailer. Just wanted to.
Oh, I'm extremely excited. You're right. It does look like the next installment of Rebels. I like that they got the guy who played Thrawn to come back and play him again, which I think is really cool. I just really don't know where they're going with it, but that's the fun of it. Is I'm very curious to see.
Yes,
it seems like they're doing Heir to the Empire, sort of.
Lars Mikkelsen.
Yes,
who is tall, angular, and very much looks like his brother.
Maybe they're the same person, and he's just collecting 2 checks from all the movies.
No, it's like the Skarsgård brothers.
Yeah.
And the
How
family.
many of them?
I mean, it's like the Nordic areas, the Scandinavian areas have only produced two acting families in the Mikkelsens and the Skarsgårds, and they've got all the fucking roles.
Was Mads Mikkelsen the
Rogue
dad
One.
in
Yeah,
Rogue One?
Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the dad.
Okay.
How did you feel about the Rebels character? It made me so happy to see, like, even seeing Chopper made me ridiculously happy. I mean, Sabine looks awesome. I love that that actress from I saw her in Guns Akimbo.
Right.
She starred in with Harry Potter, so she had the multicolor hair thing going there too. Obi-Wan's wife is playing Hera.
Yeah.
So she's fantastic.
I think that's gonna take me a little bit of getting used to, like having them be different, you know. Although it didn't take me very long to adapt to Rosario Dawson. So
I know the colors off, but actually there's a full breakdown of Bad Batch, Rebels, Squadrons, and then Ashoka.
And they showed we already saw Zeb in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I wonder if Zeb, I assume Zeb will turn up in this somehow.
Yeah, they have to get them all. They have to get the band back together. Maybe it won't be till the end, because I'm assuming or guessing. Marcus mentioned mid-season. I'm guessing more towards the end that they'll have Ezra there. Although they already have the actor cast, and I'm sure they want to use him.
So Ray, I just sent you actually that screen grab, or that thing. If you can put that up on the screen, it's in your messenger.
Yeah.
You can probably put that up, and it actually has a full breakdown of how she has evolved over
and
the
it says
years.
Attachment unavailable.
Computers.
Yes. So we have another comment from Mark. Disappointed with the announcement of the Rey movies. There's an entire universe to play with, and 90% of it is set in the same 100-year span. The Dawn of the Jedi stuff sounds
okay. I have a thought about that.
Let's hear it.
First of all, they only said it's one movie with Rey. They announced the 3 movies, but only one of them is about Rey.
Right.
I think that one is going to be about them bringing back the Jedi Order, and then they are going to do a bunch of movies about the next version of the Jedi Order. And Rey won't necessarily, like, I think this is almost like a setup episode for them, in kind of the same way the last bunch of episodes of Boba Fett were setting up, you know, the bringing back of Grogu into the Mandalorian. Like, I think that's what this is going to be. Because otherwise they would have said, oh, we're going to do multiple movies with Rey. It's a new trilogy about it. But they're not. They said, they were very specific in saying, we're doing one movie with Rey and one Mandalorian movie and one with, you know, the Old Republic, the Dawn of the Jedi.
Right.
So I don't think that they're certainly not giving up on telling stories within this 100-year period, if you will. But I don't think I think they want to get away from that.
And they are with the movie that Marcus talked about.
Right.
And the Acolyte, isn't that
right? That's like, the Acolyte is set during the High Republic stuff. Which is
100 years before.
Well, the Acolyte show is 100 years. The High Republic runs from 400 years before up to 50 years before.
Right.
Jar Jar movie. Phantom Menace. Thank you.
Now let's take a look at some of the screens Marcus sent over. Here is Hera through the years.
It's amazing how much the character's evolved.
Yes. She is awesome.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing that character. So here's a controversial thought. As much as I like the idea of James Mangold doing a Star Wars movie, because let's face it, James Mangold does good movies. I'm not sure I want another Star Wars movie. I'm perfectly happy with maybe 2 TV shows a year. I really don't think I need that big screen experience with Star Wars anymore, because let's face it, of all the Star Wars movies, and there's been 11. How many of those were actually good? Rogue One, New Hope, Empire, maybe Return of the Jedi.
I will watch parts of all of them. I mean, as not good as the Clone War Attack of the Clones was. The lightsaber fight, I think, is fantastic and really well choreographed.
Well, if you look, I mean, look, I think somebody did a supercut of the original trilogy and turned it into a watchable movie because there's enough, there's enough there to turn it into a watchable movie. But unfortunately, after coming out of The Force Awakens and having bought into that hype, that one was just, a horrible, and at the end of the day, it doesn't bear rewatching. The Rise of Skywalker is quite possibly the worst Star Wars movie ever. And I'm including fucking Caravan of Courage here, okay? The Ewok movie. I will say to you now, and it's nothing to do with the cast. I think the cast that was assembled are absolutely excellent. But unfortunately, just as when you're cooking a meal and you have great ingredients, if the recipe's off and the chef's a fucking knobhead, J.J. Abrams, Mr. fucking lens flare, then it's going to be awful. And let's face it, when he had a formula in his head, it's like, okay, now I'm going to direct this, and we're going to do this, and this. We'll do some forcey things, we'll do some things, and then we'll have a lightsaber battle. And then we're going to do this, and this, and then we'll have a lightsaber battle. Every fucking 10 minutes is like, countdown, lightsaber battle, lightsaber battle. I mean, I don't know if he got paid extra by Disney for putting lightsaber battles into The Rise of Skywalker, but geez, I mean, it's the first Star Wars movie I've never been able to rewatch. Every time I've tried to watch it again, I fall asleep. Generally, by the time they're having that fucking lightsaber battle on the water on that ship,
right?
Thing that's, and I can't even remember the rest of it. I mean, it's just horrible. At least Rian Johnson tried to do something different.
I like that movie. I liked what Rian Johnson was trying to do.
He gets a pass. He gets a pass because he's doing something different. But if anybody's career deserved to be ruined by that, it was J.J. Abrams. I mean, Colin Trevorrow really dodged a fucking bullet there, didn't he? I mean, he
would have made a very different movie, though.
Probably, but I mean, let's face it, he also did the Jurassic Park trilogy, and that doesn't exactly fill me with as much joy as learning that the writer of Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania is the guy writing Avengers Kang Dynasty.
Well, let's see if we even get there with some of the issues that have been popping up with a certain actor. But Mark is asking if any of us are playing Jedi Survivor. He says I've seen so far. They've pretty much every issue I had with the Fallen Order. So I can't wait for more Cal Kestis. Yeah. The game has been well received from what I've seen. I haven't played it at all.
What do they do? Yet. Take everybody to Disneyland again?
They had some kind of event, but I didn't get to go, so I don't know.
Look, I'm sorry, Fallen's Toilet 1, whatever the hell it was, and I played it all the way through. I completed the freaking game. And I stand by the fact that it has some of the best writing, some of the best voice acting, some of the best performances in any Star Wars game. In fact, even better than a lot of Star Wars content up to, Mando. But the game was fucking awful. It was cheap with the gameplay mechanics. It was repetitive. Most levels were just reskins of other levels. And I've said this before numerous times over. If they've changed, all that, if they actually have a variety in levels now, if they allow you to fast travel so you don't have to schlep all the way back through their stupidly designed fucking levels, great.
It does. I know that.
All right.
But I mean, I want to see a lot of variety in the levels. I want to see a lot more customization in my characters or my character, because Cal Kestis is like I said, great character, nicely acted. The robot was great. But it was that the thing that sucked the most for me about that game was how the media were bought by being able to go to fucking Star Wars land and at Disneyland, and that's what they did for the preview event, and everybody was jerking off, and it was led by, unfortunately, a bunch of fan wankery from some of the print mags that had the exclusive review, and I just found it fucking disgusting. So that game is no more than a 7 out of 10 at best. and that's being kind. Now, I hope the next one has really improved, and I'll give it a go. But I just really find that this is the problem. And, you know, we talked on the E3 episode. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a rant here. Where's my annoyed gamer sign? We talked on the E3 episode that, you know, you can't trust influencers. You got to go with journalists, etc., etc. And I am talking to two very, very esteemed journalists who work their fucking asses off and don't do favors for people or don't get fanboyed. But when you're looking at certain magazines like the self-proclaimed biggest video game magazine in America writing a full-on fan wank review, I have a problem with that, and that's what erodes the trust. And it was so clearly a case of, oh, we've all gone to see Galaxy's Edge, and we've all got to do this, that, and the other. We all came back with our lightsabers or whatever we did, and now we're going to say positive things about it because we want more Star Wars swag. And I think that, unfortunately, is a damning indictment of the game's media. And a damning indictment of how the PR machine is broken. I mean, look, kudos to EA PR. They knew what they had to do. They fucking did it. But that game is not a good game. It's not a, you know, I give it the 7 out of 10 based on those performances and the writing. The rest of it, mediocre AF.
Paul.
So let's return to our look.
Do you want a counter argument to that, or
go ahead? Go ahead. Come on.
I would just point out that I did not get invited to the preview event for the first game. I did not get invited to the preview event for the second game. I've never been handed a custom lightsaber, and I love that game. It was one of my favorite games of that year, and I've since played it 2 more times. And I do get the whole point about the fast travel thing, but
would you agree with me that the levels are there's a lot of reskins? For example, the level with the trees on the mudslide looks very familiar to the level with the snow when you're on the ice and you're sliding down. Paul, they're absolute fucking reskins. Come on.
Yeah, but the video games are inherently redundant. I mean, you're playing Doom, you're running around the same room like 6 or 7 times.
Very different eras, Paul.
But you're looking at a triple
Okay.
A game on that's based around one of the biggest generating franchises in entertainment history, and you telling me that the tree planet and the ice planet look like exactly the same things, that we replace the mud with the ice. We're fucking clever.
I'm telling you, it didn't bother me.
Well, it should. Bad journalist. Journalist.
Yeah, well.
No joy for you now. I'm taking her away.
Bye, Anya.
And look, you're obviously...
She left an hour ago.
It is very, we are talking about a very subjective thing, but I'm also, I also just look at it from the gameplay design, and a lot of it felt very cheap to me with regards to how can we get it to X amount of hours? How could we, pad stuff out wherever we could? And that's what it felt like to me. Felt like a lot of padding. And the Hogwarts Legacy game is just as culpable with regards to a lot of padding. And we're seeing that in more and more games now. It's like, oh, we've added these game mechanics. No, you fucking padded shit out. And that's just, it's just quite ridiculous. Give me an 8-hour game that's fucking brilliant. I'll give you 60, 70 quid for it. And I will be so fucking happy. Give me some DLC down the road. I'll be even happier. Because not every game is going to be Cyberpunk, and which is, again, one of my favorite games, or GTA 5, which is, again, one of my favorite games that have all this content and this value for money. But you can be a great 8-hour game as long as you fucking own it and don't try to be cheap to nudge it up to 8, 9, 10, or 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 hours because you make people double back, or you've put a level in that's a total fucking copy of another one.
Mark complained that there's a lack of dismemberment. Did that bother either of you?
I have a problem with the Star Wars games because when I grew up with Star Wars and lightsabers, my first 2 memories of, or three, if you will, memories of Star Wars and lightsabers, is the cantina, Ben Kenobi lopping some fucker's arm off. You see the blood, you see the arm on the floor. Then Ben gets hit with Vader's lightsaber and poof, vanishes. That's interesting. And then you go to Empire and it's like Luke's there, his hand is there, his hand is gone because it's just been lopped off. Where's my dismemberment with regards to lightsabers? How come? I mean, and again, you look at the new trilogy, the Force Awakens, etc., etc. Why are we not seeing more dismemberment in those?
Right.
Why? Where's I want to see bodily organs flopping everywhere. It's amazing how quick, I want to see somebody fucking gut somebody like a pig.
Okay.
I want to see somebody. You know what I want to see? Somebody go up behind an Imperial officer with their lightsaber, put the hilt at the back of the head, and then turn it on. And go, wow! That to me is gonna be baller. Why can't we see that?
Interesting that you brought up
the fucking house.
You brought up the cantina scene in A New Hope, where the bartender says to the droids, "Hey, we don't serve your kind in here." But now, from this week's Mandalorian, we now know who serves that kind and where, and what they drink.
But it would have been funny if they'd have said, "Hey, we don't serve your kind in here."
To the humans, yeah.
Well,
I don't know. They still look at them as in that very fucked up, we're happy to be slaves situation, which it's just very.
We want to serve. I mean, it was again. There was very. It was kind of formulaic, and all that was missing was when they walked in was the record scratch. I mean, there should have been some old timey entertainment droid going blinkety 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 blinkety.
Yeah, they definitely needed a jazz band in there.
Yeah.
Now, Paul, did you watch any of the other Star Wars Celebrations trailers or panels? I watched a bit of The Acolyte.
The only thing that I watched was the Ahsoka trailer. I went looking to see if they put the other footage online, but they didn't. But it didn't sound like they really showed much.
They put up panels. They put up more today, and it's going to be on a rolling basis.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty interested in the Acolyte. That's the one that's 100. That's a High Republic one,
right?
100 years. It has Daphne Keene, who I saw Logan with you. I believe I went to a Logan screening with you back in the day.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wow, she's an adult now. Like, I feel old.
I know that movie was a while ago.
Yeah, and little Laura is all grown up, although she's still 4'11", so maybe.
No, wow,
not so
it
tall.
is there, isn't it?
Yeah. Now there's Miss X23, who will now be I don't know. She is a Jedi. I don't know if she's a Jedi or a Sith, but I know she has lightsaber scenes. So excited to see that. I mean, that show looks pretty interesting in general.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Carrie-Anne Moss in it?
Yes.
And she's basically she's trying to corral everybody together and teach people who are Force sensitive, and it's like High School Musical Star Wars edition.
Is that the one she's in? I thought
she was in her. I don't think she's in Wrecking Crew or whatever the other one is called.
Skeleton Crew.
Thank you. I keep only Wrecking Crew for some reason.
I don't see her in. Oh,
she wasn't at Star Wars Celebration. I know that much. We talked about that because she's filming something else. So
Amanda Stenberg is the former Padawan, and Lee Jung-jae is the Jedi Master of the show. So they have other characters in there as well. Manny Jacinto. So excited to see a Filipino dude in Star Wars.
Who was awesome in The Good Place.
Yes. Oh, what a show.
And got totally hosed in Top Gun Maverick.
What a show.
Oh, Manny Jacinto was great.
Now, how do you feel about the state of Star Wars after Star Wars Celebration? Marcus, you mentioned that maybe there's too much content now.
I just don't want to get marveled.
Yeah, okay, that is fair.
I don't want it to get marveled. I'm enjoying the TV series in particular. It's When it's not like the last episode of The Mandalorian, it's glorious. Or when it's not Boba Fett, it's glorious. Andor was a prime example of that. Rebels has been a prime example of that. Interestingly, I've lost all interest in the Star Wars Clone Wars one. I just couldn't keep going on it. Whereas
There's a lot of
Rebels really
filler.
kept me hooked in.
Yeah.
So
how far did you get in Clone Wars?
Maybe halfway through season 1.
Oh,
but I've got too much other TV, so we need to do a Star Trek episode now and talk about Discovery and Picard and Strange New Worlds and Below Decks and all that other stuff, because I've been, we need to talk Star Trek at some point. But yeah, I'm not going to go back to that. I had my fill with Rebels. I really enjoyed it. Ahsoka is going to be great. Andor season 2, that's going to be hopefully great. I just don't want the same franchise fatigue that I've got from Marvel. And there is that danger now, because it's like, this is going to be turning, this is going to be ending these stories and starting these stories, and I'm like, just tell your own fucking story.
Well, Mark brings up a point that he wants a Sith series one day. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be an interesting perspective. Although, given how they like to recycle, we'll probably get more Maul. When we've had a lot of Maul from the cartoons and the shows.
Maul worked. I like the evolution of his character in Rebels. They evolved that character. They put some bones on a very skinny character, and I would say that actually they evolved Maul way better than they evolved Boba Fett. Yeah,
very much agreed with that.
I would think if they do anything, they would do like a Darth Plagueis show. Like a young Palpatine kind of thing.
Welcome to Sith High, where the bad guys are the good guys.
Make it
Buffy
a
the Vampire
reality
Slayer-esque show. Oh, look at this! Kathleen Kennedy, are you listening? Because we know you obviously listen to the show. But come here, we will pitch you on a whole bunch of shows. That'll be absolute crap, but it'll make us a lot of money.
And Paul, how do you feel about the state of Star Wars now?
I'm not feeling the fatigue. I'm not worried about feeling the fatigue. And I read all the books, so I'm taking in even more than you guys are. I would like them to
can read too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can read.
But
I can read like books and words, and they don't even have to have pictures,
Yeah.
I actually read all of the books you gave me for my birthday over COVID. So,
well, he gave you COVID too. What a nice guy.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like the idea of them expanding beyond the Skywalker era.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that idea. As much as I still want stories within, like, I still want them to sort of explore the post Return of the Jedi, pre-Force Awakens sort of, era a little more to see what happened then. But I would definitely like to see them expand more stuff. Are the High Republic books any good? Some of them are really good. Some of them are okay. They're all entertaining in their own way. None of them rank among my favorite Star Wars novels, but they also don't rank among my least favorite.
What a politic answer.
That's true. So, yeah.
Now let's get out of here on this. There are 2 episodes left of The Mandalorian. Any predictions or any wants? What do you want out of the 2 episodes that we have left? Marcus?
I want Grogu and Lizzo to go on a road trip
with Jack Black and Tenacious D. Tenacious D.
Are we going to bring Tim Meadows back? That was a weird cameo.
I forgot about Tim Meadows.
Blink if you miss it. Yeah,
he was in Coruscant last week's episode.
Yeah, he was the bureaucrat.
I forgot about that.
In my head, I wanted him to do the ladies' man character. Like, I'm in Coruscant sipping my Courvoisier. That would be great. So what do you guys want from
Come here, well, what? I want to do you in the butt. What's the question?
What do you want or what do you expect from the last 2 episodes of this season of The Mandalorian?
I have no idea because I have no idea where this season's fucking going. I mean, we know Gideon's escaped. We know that there are some naughty Empire types who have been rehabilitated. We know that the Mandalorians are hopefully uniting under Bo-Katan. But there's these numerous strands.
Yeah.
But nothing seems to have moved towards payoff. And when we're 2 episodes out, that's a maximum of 2 hours to tie up various stories. And I don't want them to get to do the standard American TV trick of we get to the last 5 seconds of the episode, and then Moff Gideon appears with another Darksaber and slits Grogu's throat or something, or runs off with him. Disney style, clicking his heels as he runs down a fucking alleyway.
He will use the darker saber.
Yes. This season has been very enjoyable, but it's been very meandering. There's not really been a story structure that I can really ascertain other than Mando, Grogu, Foundling, the helmet on bunch. I don't know where the fuck it's going. Do you know where it's going? Can you see who is the big bad this season? Is there a big bad? I mean, we knew it was Gideon for the first couple of seasons, and like I said, it's hinted at him. Are they going to come into contact with fucking Thrawn? Is he going to be the bad guy at the very end? That they, it's like they show 9 seconds of Thrawn and that's it, and then afterwards,
right? Okay. So I think I agree with the meandering part, and I totally understand people that are complaining about this season not being like the first 2.
I am not complaining about it though. I'm really enjoying it.
I'm not saying you.
For it to be
people.
Wrapped up, I want another full fucking episode.
Right. But to me, this season is about building the larger world, and maybe that is the expense of Din and Grogu's story. But to me, seeing the Purgle in the first episode, seeing Zeb, it seems like this is building up to Filoni's projects, to Ahsoka in the next movie, where it's building up to Thrawn. So I am hoping that when they retake Mandalore, we will get a brief appearance by Sabine Wren. And I'm hoping that they show a little bit of Thrawn, and Gideon ends up being one of his agents.
Or Gideon gets eaten by the mythosaur.
That'd be cool too.
That would be cool.
There's your decapitation mark or dismemberment. Was that?
He'll probably be swallowed whole. I mean, let's face it, the mythosaur looks like a swallower,
I think he chops in half and then swallows.
I heard he's a big burrito fan.
Roll him in a tortilla.
Yeah.
Now, what do you want from the last 2 episodes of Mando, Paul?
I would definitely like to see more with the Moff Gideon stuff come into play. I think that's what you're going to see, is that I don't think you're going to see a resolution to it, but I think that you're going to see more what's really going on there more. I think you're also going to see more of Mandalore, disparate elements of Mandalore coming together, and there's going to be conflict in that. I don't think Grogu is going to have anything of major consequence except, being his usual adorable comedic self, but like
selling Christmas ornaments.
That's fine. Do we know what is coming in between this season and the movie? I mean, I know the Ahsoka show is happening and
right.
And the crew, but is there another episode of Mandalorian before that?
They have not
said this season. No.
Yeah. So they have not said.
No, they have not. They have not.
See,
said.
I think there will be, and I think that will come after those 2 shows, and will sort of pull a lot of those things together, and then we'll set up whatever the Filoni movie is.
I agree. I fully expect another Mandalorian season, and I do expect a Book of Boba Fett season. And then the Filoni movie will wrap everything up. Maybe in a second Ahsoka season. I don't know. That might be asking for too much.
No, I think that might be too much.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they would do another Boba Fett. I could see them bringing
I think
Boba
they
Fett.
are. Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah. I need to double check. But if anyone out there knows, leave a comment, correct me,
Okay.
or confirm.
Maybe they'll do like a mini season of that, like 6 episodes.
6. Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, because they'll want to bring him back for
the movie.
The movie, yeah.
There has not been an official announcement regarding a potential season 2 for the Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
And with so much Star Wars content being planned down the line, even in 2023, it would seem counterintuitive to think that that would be the case. And there is a shit ton of Star Wars content, and it's going to get very, very crowded. And yeah, I mean, do we have a release date of this Dave Filoni movie?
We do not.
So maybe it's so far off. Maybe it's 2026, because we know it's 2023 now. We know we've got Ahsoka. We know we've got, if we're going to have one more Mando, it won't be till 2025 because Pedro Pascal is about
he's
to
a
start
busy
shooting.
man. Yeah.
Well, he's about to start shooting Last of Us season 2.
Yeah.
And that is going to be sometime in 2025, which means Mando will probably come the same time and Ahsoka. And that's when you'll probably see those two culminating maybe in a Christmas movie. Not a Christmas movie as in ho, 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 it is the way.
Grogu's
but as in a holiday, a movie released in December of 2025 that wraps all this up. Because I don't know if Star Wars can justify being a tentpole summer release anymore. And let's face it, it has kind of switched to November, December based on the last 3 movies. So,
well, the question is, would they do a Mandalorian and then like the last episode of the Mandalorian airs the week before the Star Wars movie opens, or do they put 6 months in between?
I think they'd probably do what they've done now, where they'll air Mando and then they'll air Ahsoka, and there will be crossover elements, and then you will go, you will have a couple of months, and then you'll have for everybody to catch up, I suppose. I mean, again, that's the thing that worries me about this Filoni movie, is that it's going to tie up all these aspects, and people are going to go in having had to, really have an understanding of Rebels, Mando, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, God knows what else.
Well, right, but the other thing you're assuming is that it's a theatrical release.
I did assume that. Do you think it might not be?
It might not be.
If they're saying movie, I'm thinking it's theatrical release.
Maybe not. I don't know. It could very well not be. I could see it not being.
But if it's not a theatrical release, why is it a fucking movie then? Why not have a Defenders-esque 5 or 6 episode mini blast of an excellent show that you can have all these characters coming together and
because original movies on streaming do well.
Well, so do original TV shows. Jesus. Right. I mean, look, again, Last of Us, Mando. I mean, we know how well these things do. And 4 episodes. I mean, you film it like a movie and then split it into 4.
I would like to see Filoni get a theatrical release. I mean, we already know how well he can do with series. So I want to see what he can do with the movie, just out of pure curiosity.
Yeah.
But guys, we want to know what you thought about this week's Mandalorian cameos. Did you like seeing Jack Black and Lizzo? Did it bother you? Leave a comment, leave a reply, let us know.
You are so polite. I really don't give a shit what anybody else thinks, to be honest with you. I mean, fine, comment away. I mean, if you couldn't turn up for this live stream, unlike Mark, who is a fucking regular and an awesome guy. I mean, we've had this conversation. I mean, everybody, I'm not going to read your comments. Don't bother. Just share. Tell people this guy is a dick, and he really doesn't give a shit what anybody else has to say.
And comments boost your engagement and your profile.
I've already been engaged once in my life.
Please go to Paul's site, paulsemel.com. Excellent articles on movies, TVs, books, and of course, video games. Follow him on Twitter at Paul Semel. Follow us. We're up here. There's our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all that.
Also, right there, that's us.
Yes.
Because I mean, obviously,
right.
follow us on these ones as well, because it's it's more important for our fragile egos. And yesterday was National Me Day, so
that's right. It was Marcus Beer Day,
it was
and
National Marcus Beer Day.
join us on the next episode of the BeeRPad, where Marcus and I will be talking about the Dungeons and Dragons movie, which to me was surprisingly entertaining.
It was.
Dun dun dun. And with that, we will see you next time.